Everyone,
Good morning, Rabbi.
we are learning Mishna Gittin, Parak Ches, Chapter 8, Mishnah Hey, Mishnah 5. Like I said, we began it yesterday. Let's just read through from the beginning. So we get the case here. We have to write the year in a get. We write the year in a get according to by the years of the king of where the get is being written. And the first three examples are going to be where the person did not write it, did not date it by the years of the king where they are, but by other things. So if let's say he wrote by the years of the Roman Empire, the Shamalchus Madai, or the now again that first case we said was you're in Babylonia and you're writing it according to the years of the Roman Empire. That's not the ruling empire in Babylonia at that time, and therefore you did not include the kingdom of the country that's being written in. L'shamalchus Madai, L'shamalchus Yavan. You wrote it by the years of the Median Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, which are empires that were not existing anymore. But you wrote it from the year of the beginning of each empire. That's how you put the years in. The Binyan Abayas, or forget about talking about the kings or governments or empires. You wrote the years from the building of the Beis HaMikdash, L'churban Abayas, or from the structure of the Beis HaMikdash. Those are all not, again, counting by the years of the king of where they are. And the whole point of that was to show honor to the king. And they changed, and this Sofer who wrote the get, he wrote it differently than what the Chachamim want. Or another case is Haya b'Mizrach v'Kasa b'Ma'ariv. The Sofer was in a town in the east. That's where he was. That's where he wrote the get. That's where the Edom signed the get. V'Kasa b'Ma'ariv. But he wrote in the get that they were in a town in the west, or b'Ma'ariv v'Kasa b'Mizrach, or they were in the west, and he wrote that they were in the east. Now, I'm not talking about where the man and the woman come from. We're talking about where the get is basically. The get is telling us where it's being written, where it's taken place, and he wrote the wrong place. So in all these cases, we say that the Chachamim said not a kosher get. So what now we're going to get, this is what we did yesterday, now we're going to get into the ramifications. And the ramifications are, as we're going to see, we treat her like a woman who committed adultery. She did not have a kosher get from her first husband, she married another man. That's considered that she now, married a man, that she was still married to the first man and marrying a second man. That's an act of adultery, and when that happens, when these kinds of things happen, we say that she's penalized. She shouldn't have gotten married with this. And now we're going to say the ramifications of that. So Teitzim Mizeh. Number one, she has to leave both of them. Meaning we're saying the first get, really, we're saying the rabbis don't consider, the Chacham and the sages did not consider the first get a kosher get. They didn't consider the first get a kosher get. Then the second man is an adulterer. When a woman commits adultery, she's forbidden to the adulterer and to her husband. So that is what we're considering here. She has to leave both of them. Utzricha get mizeh. She needs a get from both. Now this is very interesting. Now, basically we're saying that it's considered like she committed adultery. Mm-hmm. Now, if she committed adultery, she doesn't need a get from the second husband. She may need a get from the first husband, but not from the second husband. But let's remember something again. In this case, the first husband gave her a get, and the Chachamim said that get is not a good get, which, as we said yesterday, according to Torah law, it is a kosher get, which means she really is divorced from the first husband, and she's only considered an adulteress with the second husband because the Rabbanan consider her first get invalid, but it really was a kosher get. So really, she is divorced from the first person. She's really divorced from the first person, married to the second person, but she's married to the second person in a forbidden way, in a way that, according to rabbinic law, would be considered adultery, because according to rabbinic law, the get the first husband gave was no good. Okay, so therefore, she needs to get from both. Meaning, she needs to get from the first husband, because the get he gave her, rabbinically, was not a kosher get. Got to give her another one. The second get is again rabbinic, because really she's married to the second guy. Because the first guy's got, according to Torah law, was good. It's according to rabbinic law, it's no good. So she's really married to the second guy. She can't stay married because she got married based on a get that, according to rabbinic law, is invalid. But she needs a divorce because of the fact that because she really is married to him. So the first get, the get she's getting from the first guy is a redo because the Chacham, the sages said the first get we don't consider it kosher. So she needs another get. From the second guy, she really needs to get because according to Torah law, she's really married to the second guy. All right. Now, and because we treat her at the end of the day like a woman who committed adultery. Midrabanan. Because Midrabanan, her first get was no good. What are the consequences of that for her? Now, the Eila like ksuba. She doesn't get her ksuba. Right? The ksuba means, in every ksuba, there's the basic amount of 100 or 200 zuz. And then there can be additions, and then there can be a property she brought in, and at the end of the day, she doesn't get any of that. No ksuba, v'loi peris, nor does she get fruit. Now, fruit means like this. Normally, a husband may keep the produce of the maluk properties his wife owns. A woman brings in property into the marriage, and she holds on to the property as her property. And it's going to be her property throughout the whole marriage, and if he dies or he divorces her, she just takes it with her, and that's it. But during the entire period of time that they're married, the husband gets the usage of the field, of the property. Okay, now, and this is one of the ksuba rights granted to the husband. In this case, since she loses her right to a ksuba, right, we just said she loses her ksuba. If she loses her ksuba, that means they lose the right to the produce of her properties, right? No ksuba for her. If she doesn't have a ksuba, then they lose the right to the property. That was part of the ksuba. Part of the ksuba is he's going to pay her whatever it is at a certain point of time, and in the meanwhile, while they're married, he gets the fruits. No ksuba, no fruits. But that's therefore me, though, that at some point of time, these husbands, if they have the right to the fruits and they've taken the fruits, they should have to return it, right? Because they didn't have a right to it. Nevertheless, what the Mishna is saying is, if they already took the produce, they do not have to repay her for it. This is part of the penalty. So even though there really was a point of time that she was not, that they had no more right to it, but at the end of the day, if they still continue taking because it's just, the way it is, or they landed up taking something afterwards, they don't have to pay her back for it. That's the penalty. Next, v'lo mezainis. No more support, right? No ksuba, no support. Okay, v'lo belois. Nor does she get belois. Now, belois means worn out property. Now, what that means is like this. When a woman gets married and she brings property into the marriage, there are two ways of how that property is looked at. We mentioned before nechsei maluk, which means it's her property, the ground is hers, the land is hers, he has the usage. When the marriage ends, she takes back the land. Let's say he used that piece of property so bad that he ruined it. He ruined it. Well, this is her property. He had the right to use it. He used it a lot, right? He wore it out, but he was allowed to do that. So she takes back her, piece of land that's clearly not as good as it was before. But then there's another way of doing it, which is she brings in property into the marriage, and they write into the ksuba the value of that property. And as part of the ksuba, that means that when the marriage ends, he must return her that value. So even if it goes down in price, even if it goes down in value, right? Yeah. He has to still make sure she gets back the value, its original value, when they got married. So now, but okay, so that's part of the ksuba. So that means what? That means now that the ksuba, she has lost the ksuba, okay? So now there's no more obligation to pay the original value. She takes back the land as is. Because if she loses the ksuba, then she loses this part of the ksuba, which was that he has to pay her the original value, has to make sure she gets back the original value of that property that she brought into the marriage. Lose the ksuba, doesn't have that. And all these things that we're mentioning, no ksuba, no fruits, no support, no belois, no worn out property, loy, which really means she has to take the worn out property, loy alzeh, on neither husband, on both of them. She has nothing from both of them. No ksuba, no anything from either of them. Imnatla, and if at the end of the day she actually took these things from them, they gave it to her for some reason or another, she took from either one, taxa, she's got to return it. She has absolutely no rights to it. And this is all part of the penalty for getting married with this get. Okay. We'll stop here and we will continue tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And the time of